I would say that age is more than a chronological fact. Not only is he absolutely authoritative in rooms around the globe, but in the Oval Office, meeting with members of Congress.
So there you go. Vice President Kamala Harris addressing one of the bigger concerns for voters about President Biden, his age. Now 81, saying he's not too old for the job. Mark Penn, former Clinton pollster and advisor, and Fox News contributor Karl Rove. Gentlemen, great to have you both on today. I want to frame this the following way. The phrase was, I would say that age is more than a chronological fact, which that's pretty clever. Now, to both of you, here are the approval numbers and the disapproval numbers for Biden and Harris. Disapprovals and our polling both check in at 59%, and President Biden's about 2 points higher than she is. Karl, would you like to begin? And if so, you can start with age or the numbers, or maybe in the end, they're all numbers.
Look, let's start with a number. 3/4 of the American people think he's too old, including 69% of Democrats. I love this. I spend a lot of time with the president in the Oval Office in the Situation Room. He's absolutely authoritative. He's steady, mature. He made the call. I mean, what she's basically saying is, who are you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes and ears? The American people have made a judgment about this, and the idea that they can somehow spin this into something valuable and strong and able for, you know, the challenges ahead, they're kidding themselves.
Okay, all right.
We've made a judgment about this.
Okay, so Mark, Karl, obviously, he's not buying it. Are you?
Well, look, I think age is really, it's not a chronological number. It's frankly an inflation number. If inflation was going well and the economy is going well, no one would say he's too old. They would say, oh, he's doing a great job. Remember, the country itself has never been older. We've never had more nonagenarians even in this country than before. And the voters actually have never been older. So, look, I think it's about his performance. If he performs well in the next year, I think this will go away.
Okay.
If he doesn't, it will dog him.
Gotcha. Didn't mean to interrupt you there. I apologize about that. A couple things I want to show you guys. Our Fox polling, remember that we showed Trump's gains on Biden's by the voting group. Independents, 21 points. Black voters, 15. Hispanic, 13. Suburban voters, 8. I mean, if you're the White House, I don't know. If you're the DNC, maybe you run around with your hair on fire based on the numbers there. Kevin McCarthy was in New York yesterday, and he was asked about the next election, and he was asked about who would be a good vice president. This is what he said for Donald Trump.
Well, right now, it would be Nikki Haley, in my view.
Do you think she would serve?
It's up to Nikki. But this is a bigger question for Trump. If his campaign is about renew, rebuild, and restore, he'll win. If it's about revenge, he'll lose.
You said a lot there, Karl. Go for it.
I think the former speaker was spot on. If Donald Trump were to become the Republican nominee, his chances in the general election would depend upon exactly what the former speaker said. Is it about renew? Is it forward-looking? We're going to renew and strengthen America? Or is it going to be recriminations and revenge and rage at having had the presidency taken away from him? And I think he's absolutely spot on. That's why there's a lot of concern about the former president's state of mind when it comes to what is the general election going to be about if he becomes the Republican nominee.
Okay. Mark, how do you see it?
Look, the way I see this, the way I see this coming down here, it's really their two re-election campaigns, right? They're both presidents, and they're going to have to tell people what they are going to do in their second term, and neither of them have even begun to do that. When I did the re-election with President Clinton, we spent all our time. What is the American going to think about the future and what it's going to look like? These two men, no matter how old, have to convey that, and they haven't.
Karl, you think that's right? I mean,
that's
Biden's
right.
out there talking about Bidenomics, et cetera, and the economy, et cetera. I don't know if it's going to work for him or not, but go ahead.
Yeah, look, I think the problem is, I think Mark is absolutely right. It needs to be about the future. And the problem for Biden is that he and his vice president seem to be completely tone deaf to where Americans are coming from and what they're believing. I have another favorite out of the Kamala Harris interview. She talked about her work on the border crisis. The work I've been doing a lot is to work on the root causes of irregular migration. And what is the first thing she says, and the only thing she says about her work? That we got $4.2 billion for digital inclusion programs in Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. That's not how the American people are looking at the border crisis, that they don't have good internet connections in Guatemala. I mean, this is just insane. And I think it's going to make it really difficult for them to do what Mark said, which is talk about concretely what is it are they going to do to make America better in the future.
Got it. Thank you, men, both. Come back, okay? Some big brains on that screen right there. Thank you. The two guys on the end, Mark, Karl, talk soon. Thanks.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.